Welcome to round one of the Formula Regional Americas Championship powered by Honda from NOLA Motorsports Park. And we're away as Matt Clark gets a great jump from second position, and he guards the inside line as they make the run down toward turn number one. The pole sitter Raoul Hyman in the 27 is going to have to settle for second. Bit of a surprise as Hyman was on the pole by almost a full second, as Matt Clark getting a much better start. We'll see if Hyman can do anything with him as they head down into turn number three. Hyman tries to go around the outside, but Clark holds firm. Right there is Dylan Tavella in the third spot as we ride on board with Raoul Hyman as he stays right on the gearbox of Matt Clark. Mac in the Future Star Racing machine bends it through turn number five. Then into sixth, this triple apex right-hander at the top end of the racetrack. The top three just about equally spaced through turn seven as they make the run toward the S's. They dip into turn number eight. These S's sharper at the beginning and then gradually opening up as you work your way down toward turn 13. One of the best overtaking opportunities on the racetrack. Matt Clark through the last of the S's and down into that heavy braking zone right now as we ride with our leader. He clips the apex nicely on turn 14, and then two long right-handers, 15 and 16, leading back onto the front straightaway. As Matt Clark showing the way on lap number one after getting a dynamite start off the line. There's Clark, Hyman, Tavella, Christodoulou, Alder, Yardley, Kirby, Persing, Kacic, Gutierrez, Becklin, and Bowlsbey as they bend their way into turn number one. There in the background you can see a couple Californians going after the same piece of real estate. Alex Kirby and Nick Persing deep on the brakes into turn one. Meanwhile, the leaders continue their jaunt up through turn three and towards turn number four. As Raoul Hyman staying in touch with Matt Clark, just a couple car lengths as they head down toward turn number five. Following them around the top side of the racetrack, 5, 6, and 7. Those two have broken away just a bit from third place runner Dylan Tavella, who in turn has got a little breathing room over Nico Christodoulou in that fourth spot. The battle's at the front from Dylan Tavella's viewpoint. You can see the two combatants for the lead up in front as they come into turn 13. The heavy braking zone, a little lockup there from, it looked like Hal Hyman perhaps locked up a tire as he tried to get a little closer to Matt Clark and perhaps take the lead. Clark holding strong as Tavella pedals hard to keep up, and they make their way up toward the line to begin race lap number 3. Tavella peeks out just to let Raoul Hyman know that he's there, but Hyman's attention is fully forward at this point as he is harrying Matt Clark, trying to find a way around as they head down into turn 3 once again. Hyman is right there, but just not close enough to get a wheel alongside. As those two head into turn 4 once again. From Raoul Hyman's vantage point, looking ahead to the leader, Matt Clark. Mac making no mistakes as he is able to stretch his advantage maybe up to 3 or 4 car lengths there as they exit turn 7. Raoul Hyman, originally from South Africa, currently making his home in London, comes to our championship with quite a pedigree. We ride with Nico Christodoulou, currently 4th spot. That's Dylan Tavella up ahead, and then far in the distance, you can see the battle for the lead between Clark and Hyman. Christodoulou from Maple, Ontario, Canada. You can see the maple leaf on his helmet. We go back one more spot to Jason Alder, who gives chase. That's Christodoulou up in front as the leaders work their way across the stripe to begin race lap number 4. line astern pretty much the whole field as the field has settled in. To much of the running order that we saw at the end of the last lap. Matt Clark and Raoul Hyman still in close contention for the overall lead, but this race is still very young, lots of time left. Right again with the leader is Matt Clark, right out to the edge of the track. Clips the apex nicely, and we shift back to the second place runner, Raoul Hyman. It's a little closer this time. Whoa, Hyman gets really sideways at the exit of turn 6. That's going to cost him as he pushed just a little too hard. And look at Dylan Tavella closing right up on the back of Raoul Hyman. So Hyman is going to have to climb that mountain all over again after that miscue. They're at turn 6. Down into 13 they come. Hyman recollecting himself. He comes to our championship with quite a pedigree, having won the Formula 3 Asia Championship, and as we ride with him, competing a full season in FIA Formula 3. But he's been out of the seat for a couple years, and glad to have this opportunity with TJ Speed to come into the Formula Regional Americas competition. It's the top 3, putting a little distance between themselves and 4th place Christodoulou. Into turn 1 they come, about equally spaced at this point after Hyman's little miscue a lap ago. You can see Christodoulou and Alder in the background. As Dylan Tavella hanging on to the final podium position in the number 14 car for Crosslink Kiwi. We ride with Tavella now as he sees Hyman and Clark in the distance. This is where Hyman had his little bobble a lap ago, which cost him some interval to the leader. A little more circumspect this time through that section of the racetrack. Stay aboard with Dylan Tavella as he gives chase to our second place runner. Tavella out of Massapequa, New York. Our most experienced driver in the field. So he competed with us for 3 years in the F4 Championship, 2018, 19, and 2020, and then had a full season in the Formula Regional Americas Championship a year ago, where he finished 7th with a win and 3 podiums. Back to Matt Clark, heading down toward turn number 1. Seems to have stabilized his lead right now over Raoul Hyman. See him getting a little loose as he tries to get the power down. All 303 horsepower of the turbocharged Honda 4-cylinder, the K20C1, lifted right out of the Honda Civic Type R. Running just about at the same horsepower level in race trim, about 303 horsepower in its turbocharged configuration. The F4 cars, of course, run the same engine, but without the turbocharger and detuned to just under 160 horsepower. Looks like Hyman is beginning to eke that interval back as he is gradually closing down on Matt Clark. Recovering from that little miscue, Clark had a little oversteer moment of his own, which certainly allowed Hyman to close down once again. So this one far from over. Making their way onto the front straightaway once again for the long blast down toward turn number 1. Just beginning race lap number 7 as the lead duo flash under the starter stand. Smoothly into turn 1 as we ride with Raoul Hyman. You can see Dylan Tavella losing touch just a bit with the top two, as Hyman not able to make much of a dent in the lead that Matt Clark has built up. It's a little closer than it was, but still not nearly close enough to make a bid. And we ride again with Hyman on the run down toward turn number 5. Turn 6, where he had his little moment a few laps ago. Smoothly into the S's as these cars change direction, working their way through this complex. Dylan Tavella seeing the top two disappear into the distance just a bit, as Tavella not matching their pace, at least at this stage, but still plenty of racing left to go. The starters stand and the beginning of lap number 8. No change in the order, as you can see the field behind beginning to stretch out, as positions for the most part appear to be set, nothing in close contention up and down the running order right now. Exiting turn 4 as we ride on board with him once again. Status quo between the top two, without much difference in the interval. This is the first race of the weekend for these drivers. Remember, they're each issued 2 sets of tires, 2 sets of fronts, 2 sets of rears, which they can begin to use in qualifying. And those 2 sets of tires need to last the rest of the weekend, so qualifying and 3 races. So the teams can allocate those tires however they wish. As Raoul Hyman really beginning to make up some ground now, as he is resurgent, as the race is into its middle section. Still not to half distance yet, but Hyman does definitely appear to be closing down on Matt Clark. Crossing the line to complete race lap 8. And you can see those two really stretching it out over Dylan Tavella, and the same Tavella over 4th place Nico Christodoulou. Not much in contention there. As we stay with our 2nd place runner, as he tries to find the combination to close back up onto Matt Clark and perhaps make a lunge as we get into the second half of this race in a few laps. Riding with Hyman once again as they make it through turn 5. This will be 6 and 7. It's a short straightaway that leads them into the entrance to the S's. Right there as the cars dip it into turn number 8. There's Dylan Tavella, Nico Christodoulou, and Jason Alder, with whom we ride as he tips it into turn 8. Alder running right where he qualified, has been pretty consistently in that 5th spot since lights out. He bends it around turns 15 and 16 and onto the front straightaway. Same story at the front. Matt Clark able to maintain a pretty comfortable margin, 4 or 5 car lengths over pole sitter Raoul Hyman. Clark comes to us from Campbellville, Ontario for Future Star Racing. competed with us in the F4 US Championship a year ago, where he was the vice champion, very much in the championship conversation most of the season. In fact, it went right down to the last races of the year before the championship was settled. So Mac showed a lot of promise in the F4 US Championship, and that promise is coming to fruition here as he is leading his first start in the Formula Regional Americas Championship. We're riding it back again with Dylan Tavella in third, and as you can see, Tavella losing touch with the top two. He's pretty comfortably in that third spot. Nico Christodoulou not pressuring him at all. So on his way to a podium finish is Dylan Tavella. See the top two coming onto the front straightaway, and Tavella hasn't even come into the picture. There he is, just now, making the exit of turn 16. There's Christodoulou in the distance. Jason Alder just behind him. Ryan Yardley in the 78, right behind Alder with the orange highlights on his car. Once again, ebb and flow of the interval between our leaders as Raoul Hyman gets a good lap and is able to close right back up on Matt Clark. This one may not be over yet. As Clark doing his best to maintain that advantage. Maybe 3 car lengths separating the two of them as they exit turn 7. Good run through the first part of the S's. Let's see how he does on the brakes, heading down into 13. Clark missing the apex just a touch in both of these turns, and that allows Hyman to get right on his gearbox. So Clark may be fighting a ill-handling car as Raoul Hyman really gets close as they come onto the straightaway once again. This time across the line, completing race lap number 11. Just about halfway home on this one. Clark doing a great job of not making mistakes, maintaining that advantage as Hyman puts the pressure on. They're running almost identical lap times, obviously, but Hyman just can't get close enough to make a move under braking. One of the differences between this car, the Formula Regional Americas car, and the F4 US car, of course, is that it generates significantly more downforce. The wings are bigger at both ends. The underbody tunnels generate more downforce. There's a big diffuser under the rear wing, which accelerates that air under the car to generate that low pressure area that presses the car down to the racetrack. And all of that means there's more disturbed air coming off the leading car, which takes away the aerodynamic advantage, especially at the front of the following car. So it's tougher for these Formula Regional cars to follow closely, more so than their F4 US counterparts, who, although have plenty of aero, not nearly as much as these cars do. So passing really is a matter of picking your spot. And we see it mostly in braking zones. As we ride with Jason Alder, as he's got Nico Christodoulou in the car just ahead. We rode briefly with Nico as Jason closing down, looking to perhaps make a bid for that 4th spot. But Christodoulou holding his own at the moment. Christodoulou in the Velocity Racing Development, number 22. Alder in the 77 car for TJ Speed Motorsport. As we ride with Jason Alder through turn 2, a short run down toward the first of back-to-back 180-degree horseshoe turns. Turn 3, kind of a double apex affair. And then turn 4, which opens up onto what would be the continuation of the front straightaway. This, the more technical portion of this racetrack. Whereas once they get into turn 5, it becomes more high-speed cornering, flowing through this section, flowing through the S's. And then the braking zone there at 13 brings them back into the tight and twisty final few turns of this track. Christodoulou and Alder back on board with Alder now as they negotiate the S's and make their way into turn 13. Nicely done on both of them. Just ticking the apex, you can see Christodoulou, as he gets on the throttle, having to be a little judicious as he accelerates off the low-speed corners onto the straightaway. Meanwhile, back at the front, it looks like Raoul Hyman may be marginally closer to Matt Clark, but it's tantalizingly far enough away that he doesn't have an opportunity to make that pass. You can see in the low-speed sections there at turns 3 and at the apex of 4, he'll close up to within a car length, but it's just not close enough, barring a mistake from Matt Clark. Again, a little oversteer moment for Hyman as he has to chase the car, trying to get on the power just as quickly as he can to get a run on Mac, but at the moment, not finding that possible. Making their way to the S's one more time. And those two in a class of their own in this race, as they've really dropped third place runner Dylan Tavella. Tavella also with a pretty comfortable margin over fourth place Nico Christodoulou. But Christodoulou and Jason Alder still having a pretty good battle for fourth and fifth. Hyman once again, especially in the low speed sections, able to get within a car length of Matt Clark. In fact, he's as close as he's been in the past several laps. Again, the ebb and flow of the handling characteristics of these cars as the fuel load burns off. The fuel is a not insignificant portion of the weight of the car. So as the race wears on, the fuel load burns off and it will change the handling characteristics of the car. Sometimes for the better, sometimes not so much. The drivers do not have any cockpit adjustable suspension. They can't adjust roll bars or anything like that to adjust the handling. So they have to drive around whatever evolution of handling they have throughout the course of the race. There's Jason Alder chasing Nico Christodoulou as he has most of this race. There's Christodoulou on board as he dips it into turn 4 and Alder right behind. This battle just about as close as the battle for the lead, with Dylan Tavella in the distance up there, pretty comfortably in the third spot. Jason Alder out of Baltimore, Maryland. Competed with us in the F4 Championship a year ago with 5 wins and 2 podiums. Interestingly, he won his very first F4 race at Road Atlanta a year ago, and then backed it up as he finished third in the championship, in the F4 Championship a year ago, just behind Matt Clark. So, at the last race of the season for the Formula Regional Americas drivers at Circuit of the Americas, Jason had the opportunity to step into this Formula Regional Americas car, even though he was not eligible to compete for points. It certainly gave him a leg up on this season, and he won his first race in the FR car. So he is the only driver in the history of both championships to win on debut in each championship. So Jason Alder showing that he has what it takes to run at the front. Right now in 5th spot. Nico Christodoulou up in front. Did not compete in this championship a year ago. He did finish 4th, however, in the F4 US Championship as we ride with Nico now. The course of his 2 seasons in the F4 Championship, Nico has 2 wins and 7 podiums. So he's no stranger to the top step on the podium. This is his first experience in the FR car in competition. Just see Dylan Tavella disappearing out of the shot as Nico tips it into the S's. As we go back to the battle at the front, Raoul Hyman fighting the car just a tad. As, whoa, Kevin Janzen spinning it there at turn 16. Evasive action had to be taken by both of our leaders. You can see Janzen just now getting back underway. So no safety car will be necessary, but Janzen has now gone a lap down after that spin. Janzen, the oldest driver in the field by a substantial margin. He jokes that he's older than the parents of most of the folks in the field. As we stay with this lead battle. Into turn number 5 for Matt Clark. Shot here as you can see the cars on rails as they make that entrance into the S's. And into turn 13 once again. Matt Clark once again not quite tipping the apex of both of those turns, and that gives Hyman a chance, but you can see Hyman once again with a big oversteer moment as he's trying to get on the power. And Matt Clark able to get up to speed and motor away as Clark crosses the line to complete race lap 17. As he tips it into turn 1. Again, opening up that advantage just slightly. As there are places where Raoul Hyman's car appears to be working a little bit better, specifically in the slower speed sections, but Matt Clark's car able to draw away in the high speed sections. And Hyman has no answer for him. We ride again with Raoul Hyman as they come off turn 4 and head through the top section of this racetrack once again. Easily the best battle on the racetrack is the one for the lead. And Raoul Hyman from the pole, again, as we mentioned earlier, set the pole time by almost a full second and was expected to be a dominant force here in this first race. But Matt Clark getting the better start, took the lead in the run down to turn 1 on the first lap and has never relinquished it. Bodes well for the rest of the season. As again, Raoul Hyman came in with such a pedigree that there was a lot of talk in the paddock that he would be difficult to beat. At the moment, he is just that. As we saw the 91 car of Cooper Becklin, who has unfortunately been in and out of the pits a couple times. He is about to go a lap down here. Is really close now as he was able to get right on the gearbox of Matt Clark at turn 3. Let's see if he can do the same thing. Yep, he is right there coming off turn 4. So we're well into the second half of this race. Can he find a way to challenge Matt Clark for the victory? The Canadian in the meantime doing his best to maintain that advantage, and so far he's answered every challenge that's been thrown his way. The S's one more time, down into turn 13. 13. Again, a lockup there from Hyman as he's a little too late on the brakes. That's going to cost him. As the tires perhaps beginning to give up, there's a little more of an oversteer moment as he gets on the throttle. These turbocharged motors require a deft touch, and it could be that Hyman is still learning where he can get on the throttle and where he needs to feather it just a bit more, as that turbo boost can come on in a hurry once it spools up. With a little more of an advantage now as he's been able to stretch it in the slow speed section where Hyman's car has been so strong heretofore. And that's Cooper Becklin. In front, about to go a lap down. Raoul Hyman really trying to hustle the car. You can see he's putting a lot of steering correction into it. Lap traffic here could be an issue, but I'm sure blue flags being shown to Cooper Becklin, and he does the gentlemanly thing and pulls aside to let the leaders pass. And across the line to complete race lap 20, working lap 21. Getting to the last handful of laps here. As Raoul Hyman is going to be running out of time to make his bid for the lead on his first start with us in North America. Again, not only has he been out of the seat for a couple of years, but he's doing his first racing here in this country, so he has the task of not only learning the car but also learning the tracks, as he'll have no experience at any of them, whereas all the drivers who have competed with us in the F4 Championship and in the Formula Regional Americas Championship will have some familiarity, although this is our first visit to New Orleans Motorsports Park since the inaugural year of the FR Championship in 2018. So it's been several years since we've been here. And I'll tell you what, Matt Clark is not coasting either. You can tell he is working hard to keep this car under him as he realizes he's got a very talented driver behind him. As we go back to Jason Alder in the 77 car, still giving chase to Nico Christodoulou. And we'll see if that closes up here in the closing laps as Alder smoothly through the S's and down into turn 13. Nicely done for Jason. Jason, interestingly, came to the F4 Championship a year ago, competing in Legends cars on ovals, and hadn't done any road racing since his karting days. And as we said, won his very first race in the F4 car, and now is fully committed to a road racing future, at least at this point, having had good success a year ago, finishing third in the championship and setting off in good stead in this championship as well after winning his first outing. Once again, Hyman getting a little sideways as he has to correct. Coming through turn 7, that's been a problem zone for him on a couple occasions. As we're getting into the closing laps here, Clark appears to have a pretty comfortable advantage, but all it takes is the smallest mistake, and Hyman will be there to pounce. started his open wheel racing career in his native Canada in the F1600 Championship. As the white flag is in the air, we're on the final lap. And he set a record for most wins, winning 16 of 18 races in that season, taking that championship going away. And he beat a record that Paul Tracy set back in 1985. So he comes to us with a strong pedigree as well, and showed that with his second place finish as the vice champion a year ago. Raoul Hyman putting the pressure on this final lap to see if he can find a way to steal this victory from Matt Clark, who has led from the jump after getting the jump away from the line at lights out. Has not been headed throughout this race. He's been challenged on multiple occasions, but Raoul Hyman has not been able to get any closer than he is right about now. But Hyman is pushing on this final lap. And he closes right up within a car length. Oh, and Clark goes a little wide, missing the apex. Hyman is right there. This could be his final opportunity as he tries to go wide to get a little bit of a run coming onto the front straightaway. But Matt Clark maintains his advantage and weaves his way down the line toward the checkered flag as Matt Clark will take the win in round one, his first win in Formula Regional Americas competition. Here's the battle for fourth between Nico Christodoulou and Jason Alder, which is also tightened up here on the final lap. Alder doing his best to run down Christodoulou in the run to the line, but it looks like Nico's going to have what it takes to hold him off. There's Dylan Tavella across the line. And here comes Nico Christodoulou and Jason Alder. Right behind them, Ryan Yardley and Nick Persing.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get our podium celebration underway. Finishing third for Crosslink Kiwi Motorsports, Dylan Tavella. Podium for your first FR race. You could be your first FR race of the season. You got to be pretty pleased.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy. The team put in a lot of work. There was a lot of stuff that was going on with the car, and thankfully we sorted it out. We were able to go racing. I would love to thank the whole Crosslink team, especially Patrick, Bento, Josh, Troy, Eva Lewis, my mom and dad, of course, and the whole Kiwi team.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Dylan Tavella, your third place finisher, ladies and gentlemen. And now in his first race in North America, he started on the pole and kept the winner honest. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Raoul Hyman. Raoul, what a fantastic drive. You didn't get the start you would have wanted, I'm sure, because Mac was able to get by you. But boy, it was an exciting race to watch. How was it from your vantage point?
Well, I thought the start was decent until I saw his car come past. So I was like, right, okay. So then I settled in behind, as much as you could, and then I had a huge moment out of turn 8. So I'm coming through, I had the dirty air behind Mac, and I think just sort of decided I'm going to plant the throttle and just see what happens. Yeah. And then kind of ran out of road a little bit, and then I think I might have caught the rear on the grass. Yeah. So I think I was pretty fortunate. So, thank God I didn't sort of just drop it there. As I drove away, there was just smoke in the mirrors, so I thought it was pretty big one. And then managed to catch back up. I mean, the car was really, really strong. Yeah. Considering that we were on older tires, well, not old tires, but we went on new tires. Yeah. I think it was decent pace. But it was just quite difficult to pass. I think, Mac was really good. Either he was really quick in all the right places or he managed that brilliantly. So all credit to him, he did a great job. And yeah, looking forward to tomorrow.
Anybody you'd like to thank?
I'd like to thank the team. Thanks for that, I almost forgot. I'd like to thank the team, Tim, Dylan, Ricardo. Everyone did a great job. I can't fault them. They can't start the race for me, so it's not like they lost the position. But honestly, the car was really good. It has been ever since our first test last week. And it's run extremely well, considering that they had to put everything together in terms of the program really late. It's been pretty bulletproof, so huge credit to them.
Welcome to the championship.
All right, thanks very much.
Second place finish for Raoul Hyman, ladies and gentlemen. It's pretty cool when you take, I'm sorry.
Pick it up? Oh, right.
It's pretty cool when you take a win in your first start in a Formula Regional America's car. Ladies and gentlemen, the young Canadian phenom, Mac Jimmy Clark. You need to come and talk to me before every race, because apparently it brought you good luck. Raoul did too.
Well,
yeah, exactly.
I don't know what you did with Ethan.
Mac, congratulations. He had the pressure on you every step of the way. Just as it looked like you'd be able to pull out a little bit of a lead, he'd get it right back. I know you had to be driving in your mirrors just a bit, but I gotta give you credit. You were flawless.
Thank you. No, we managed to get a really good jump off the line. And first off, I just want to thank the team. I mean, Future Star Racing gave me an incredible car today, and I'd like to thank them for all their work over the past, 2-3 months getting this program together, as well as all my family and friends back home, especially my mother, because I know she'll be watching. And really tough race. Raoul gave me a good run for my money, and just happy to take it home at the end of the day.
Talk a little bit about the start. You got a good jump. Was that fortuitous, or did it just fall your way?
I've been practicing my launches in all the test sessions, and I mean at home on the sim, so I'm glad that paid off, and happy that we could get a good launch on the line.
Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Top step of the podium, ladies and gentlemen, for Mac Clark. Oh, and we must have the Canadian flag to celebrate. Before we get our sparkling beverage celebration, we do have to do the hat dance as we honor our sponsors for each of our podium celebrations throughout the course of the year. Lucas Oil, the first round of hats on our drivers. Lucas Oil joining us as a sponsor last year for the first time. It's so great to have them as part of the foundation to make it happen. There we go. Gavin Baker, by the way, the best motorsports photographer on the planet, does a little stage managing as well.
I'm trying.
Next round of hats for Ligier, the builder of this beautiful JS F3 chassis. We're told the second generation F4 car is well into development. Looking forward to seeing it before too much longer.
How many seats do you guys have? One. Okay, are we going to spray
I think we
this?
should make it down to the
Are we going to spray this or no?
No, we're not.
Yeah, we're going to move the car before the
Spray
spray.
it on your car, yeah. Spray it on your clutch.
Last round of hats.
Almost, yeah.
Yep, almost. Okay, ready, good, Gavin? For HAKUN, the spec tire for both of our series. Thanks to Danny Von Dongen and his entire crew out of Nashville for providing the tires.
Yeah, that's agreed.
Okay, Future Star crew, after this round of photographs, if we can get you to roll the car out of the line of fire, and then we'll distribute some celebratory sparkling beverage to these drivers. Raoul is of age, but because the other two aren't, we do not use an alcoholic beverage for the... okay, come on. All right, hang on 1 second before we pass it out. We want to get the car out of harm's way.
So we can drink it?
You can drink it. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you your podium. Tavella, Raoul Hyman, and Mac Clark.